Hello and welcome back. This is video number 3, and this is all about what Google wants and the strategy. Now, we don't know exactly whether this is true or not, but based on the data that we have seen and based on the data that not only has worked for us, but for many others, is that Google likes brands. Now, it's not necessarily that they are particularly liking brands because brands make a lot of money or anything like that. But what we've realized are certain variables that make a brand stand out. So they don't exactly go out and tell people that they like brands, but based on the data that we've seen, we have seen brands rank better. So why is that? Why is it that Google seems to rank brands better? It's because brands last long term, and they oftentimes provide value. Remember, going back to what makes the visitors happy, it's the value that they are offering, right? At least the majority. So you'll notice that brands tend to have a really good following of fans that love their content. So why is that important? Well, their concern isn't really necessarily the brand, but giving people that are searching certain keywords on Google or YouTube, giving them what they want. Now, you'll notice that brands attract a consistent following as well. So Google likes it when they find that there's not only a good following, but a good engaging and good interaction. So their fans click and engage with their content more. And YouTube likes that. They love engagement. If you take a look at videos that rank really well, you'll notice commonality, and you'll notice that they have a lot of likes, they have a lot of comments. Essentially, they have engagement. And engagement is essentially the currency of YouTube. So whether somebody gets a bad comment or a good comment, a comment is a comment. A comment essentially, if you think about it, is worth about $1. Now, we're just saying that because it's like currency, engagement. Now, this means there is a higher CTR, or in other words, click-through rate. So if you have fans that really love a specific brand, they're most likely going to come back over and over again, right? So higher engagement is what Google likes to see. Higher engagement means that the fans really like the content. So this is based on the data that we have received and based on the data that we have observed. So the strategy here is to make sure that you look like a brand and you do backlinking like a brand. Make sense? So what does backlinking like a brand look like? Well, if you think about the visitors that are coming to that brand, they are looking at it, they're engaging with it, they're sharing it with their friends. Now, like I said earlier, there's no exact this is the way it is, but based on the data that we have gathered over the years and what we see, what works and what hasn't, we can safely say that looking like a brand will be better for your YouTube channel. And of course, gathering a fan base and a good following that is interacting with your content is also key. Now, if you look at brands, they have many social properties besides YouTube channels. They've got Facebook.com, they have Twitter, they have Snapchat, and more. So it only makes sense for your brand to have the same properties in your brand name and interlinking to each other, right? So let's say, for example, that you upload a video to YouTube. Then it's going to make sense for you to post that same YouTube video or share it via Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and more. So essentially, we're interlinking them together. And that kind of brings us to this strategy, which is the ring. You're basically interlinking everything together. So like I said, for example, you post a video on YouTube, it needs to be pushed to Twitter, your Facebook fan page, and other social properties. And fortunately, because everything is going to be automated, once you do that, it will trigger and it will automate the whole process. So it makes sense because your fans will be located at these different social properties. So some people will be at Facebook, some people will prefer Twitter, and some people will prefer maybe Snapchat or Instagram and other social properties. But if you think about it, it sounds very time consuming and tedious, right? And yes, it is, but once everything is set up, it will actually make your life a lot easier. But like I said, don't worry, we're going to show you how to speed things up with a few dollars. So with that said, let's move on to video number 4. Hello and welcome back. This is video number 4. And we're going to talk about the ring, which is the strategy. So in the previous video, we discussed why having different social media properties interlinked together can help Google see you as a brand who is sharing your content to your audience. In other words, these aren't just random backlinks, but links from big sites that are branded towards your company. And this is why this is super targeted and is much more powerful than a simple backlink. Make sense? So now let's take a look at what this looks like in real life. So let's head on over to our nifty mind mapping software. I'm going to map things out so that you're going to be able to visually see how it all works. Okay, so to better understand how this works, we're going to map things out. Now, before we map things out, I want to start with some basics, and let's just pull this out here. So essentially the concept here is as you're building your brand, you're going to have many different social properties. And let's say, for example, this is the Facebook fan page. So that's your fan page. And we've got the YouTube channel over here because that is our end goal, is to have our YouTube channel get ranked higher. So essentially what we're doing is we're getting a backlink from this to here. And this could be Facebook, it could be Twitter, it could be Instagram, it could be any other social media platform. But it has to be branded towards you. It can't just be somebody else's fan page unless it is actually related. But if it's related, and if it's branded as yours and it's linking to your YouTube channel, that essentially is a vote of confidence, but also it shows YouTube that you're interlinking. So that's basically the concept here. Now, if we dig a little deeper, basically what we want to set up is every time we upload a YouTube video and it gets posted, maybe it gets posted publicly, what ends up happening is we push that YouTube video and get it embedded onto the Facebook fan page, the Twitter page, the WordPress page, and all of that. So we'll put Twitter. And we'll do WordPress. So as you can imagine, you've got the centerpiece here. You've got different social media platforms that are posted. Now, there isn't necessarily a set rule where you have to post it to X amount of social media properties. It can be 5, it can be 10, it could be 20, it could be different social media platforms. But in order to execute this and get it correctly, you will need to make sure that the platform that we use to automate this process actually supports that specific social media platform. So essentially this is what works, and this is basically what it is. So obviously in order to get this to work, you'll need to have a YouTube channel, you'll need to have the Facebook fan page, you'll need to have all these items in hand. So you'll need to have the username and password and all that. And we'll talk more about account creation later, but I just wanted to give you kind of a gist of what everything looks like and the visual map of it all.